When the Dome at America's Center opened in 1995, the vision was clear. Create a modern stadium that would secure St. Louis as a permanent home for professional football. For a while, it seemed like the dream had come true. The St. Louis Rams brought excitement to the city, the stadium looked promising, and there was a sense of stability. Yet just 2 decades later, everything unraveled. By the early 2000s, it became clear the Dome was falling far behind the NFL's new generation of stadiums. City officials, anxious to keep the Rams, scrambled to come up with upgrades and plans to meet the team's demands. But renovations, negotiations, and even legal battles weren't enough. In 2016, the Rams officially left St. Louis, returning to Los Angeles. Today, the Dome still stands, still hosting events, but its long-term role remains uncertain. So how did a stadium that was supposed to guarantee football for the long haul end up as a reminder of missed opportunities? And what might the future hold for this once celebrated venue? The beginning, a city without football. To understand the Dome's story, we need to go back to the late 1980s. In 1988, the St. Louis Cardinals football team, not to be confused with the baseball team, moved to Phoenix, leaving the city without an NFL presence. Losing the Cardinals was a major blow, but St. Louis wasn't ready to give up on football. City leaders immediately began planning a strategy to bring the NFL back. In 1989, they secured public bond funding for a domed stadium that would double as an expansion of the city's convention center. The idea was simple: build a first-class facility that could attract an NFL franchise while boosting the city's convention business. By 1992, construction began on what would later become the Dome at America's Center. The architecture was designed with a nod to St. Louis's character, using brick, limestone, and red sandstone tinted concrete to mirror the city's pre-World War II buildings. St. Louis even applied for an NFL expansion team to be named the Stallions. But when the NFL announced its decisions in 1993, the new franchises went to Jacksonville and Charlotte instead. Despite the disappointment, the stadium's construction continued, leaving St. Louis with a modern domed venue, but still no football team to play in it. The Rams come to town. That changed in 1995 when Rams owner Georgia Frontier announced her decision to move the franchise from Los Angeles to St. Louis. Initially, NFL owners voted against the relocation, but under legal pressure, the move was approved. As part of the deal, St. Louis agreed to a lease that would guarantee the Dome stayed in the top 25% of NFL stadiums in terms of quality and amenities. If it fell behind, the team would have the option to leave without penalty. The Rams played their first few home games of 1995 at Bush Memorial Stadium, but by November 12th, they made their debut at the new Dome, defeating the Carolina Panthers 28-17. The excitement was palpable, and St. Louis felt like a football city again. The stadium was initially named the Dome at America's Center, but almost immediately, naming rights went to Trans World Airlines, turning it into the Trans World Dome. After TWA was acquired by American Airlines in 2001, the Dome briefly reverted to its original name, before being renamed again in 2002 when Edward Jones Investments purchased the rights. Early renovations and rising problems. For the first decade, the Dome seemed to serve its purpose. But while it looked impressive in the 1990s, NFL stadiums were evolving quickly. What once felt modern started to look dated by the 2000s. In 2009, the Dome underwent $30 million in renovations, including new LED video scoreboards, premium seating areas, and updated decor to match the Rams' team colors. In 2010, the locker rooms were moved, new HD monitors were added throughout the venue, and an updated AstroTurf system allowed the field to be stored underground. These improvements gave the Dome a facelift, but they weren't nearly enough to meet the lease's strict top 25% requirement. By the mid-2000s, the cracks were already showing. A 2008 Sports Illustrated poll ranked it as the worst stadium in the NFL, citing poor tailgating options, high prices, and a lackluster atmosphere. In 2012, Time magazine included it among the worst sports venues in America. Fans often describe the building as cavernous, with weak sightlines and little of the charm or energy found in other NFL arenas. Even during the Rams' most successful years, like their Super Bowl-winning Greatest Show on Turf era, the Dome's shortcomings were noticeable. The stadium simply couldn't keep pace with the NFL's new standards. Lease troubles and failed negotiations. The biggest problem was the lease. The agreement signed in 1995 looked good at the time, but it required the Dome to remain among the NFL's best facilities. If it fell behind, the Rams had the option to demand costly renovations or walk away. By 2005, the Dome was already out of the top tier. The Rams could have left then, but they accepted the $30 million renovation package instead. This bought St. Louis another decade of football, but everyone knew the clock was ticking. Without a massive overhaul, the Rams would not stay past 2015. Attendance also became a problem. From 2008 to 2015, the Rams consistently ranked near the bottom of the NFL in attendance, finishing dead last in 2015 as relocation rumors swirled. City officials attempted to make deals. In 2012, they proposed $48 million in upgrades, including a parking garage, but the Rams rejected the plan. A revised $124 million proposal with new suites and entrances was also turned down. The Rams countered with a $700 million plan that included a sliding roof and a giant four-sided scoreboard. But there was no realistic way to fund such an enormous project. Arbitration in 2013 sided with the Rams' view. Only a massive rebuild could bring the Dome back into the top tier of NFL stadiums. This effectively gave the team a green light to leave, the move back to Los Angeles. By 2014, the rumors became reality. Reports surfaced that Rams owner Stan Kroenke had purchased land in Inglewood, California. The site, originally intended for a Walmart supercenter, would instead become the home of SoFi Stadium, a massive new NFL venue. In 2015, the plan was confirmed. An 80,000-seat stadium, a performance venue, and an expansive commercial district would rise in Los Angeles. St. Louis scrambled to respond, unveiling plans for a new stadium on the city's North Riverfront. But the NFL dismissed the idea, saying it didn't comply with the existing lease or arbitration process. With SoFi privately funded, nothing could stop Kroenke's project. On January 4, 2016, the Rams officially filed for relocation, and by the following season, the team was back in Los Angeles. The Rams' final home game in St. Louis was played on December 17, 2015, against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Shortly afterward, Edward Jones pulled its sponsorship, and the stadium returned to its original name. The Dome at America's Center, legal fallout, and settlement. The relocation sparked outrage in St. Louis. In 2017, local officials filed a lawsuit against the NFL and Kroenke, accusing them of misleading the city and violating relocation rules. The lawsuit sought more than $1 billion in damages. After years of legal battles, the case was settled in 2021 for $790 million. Of that, $280 million went to the city of St. Louis, $169 million to St. Louis County, and $70 million to the Regional Convention and Sports Complex Authority. The settlement provided financial relief, but it didn't replace the loss of the Rams. A new chapter, the XFL and beyond. Though the NFL was gone, football wasn't entirely finished in St. Louis. In 2018, the rebooted XFL announced the St. Louis Battlehawks, who would play their games at the Dome. When the team debuted in 2020, the response was overwhelming. Nearly 30,000 fans attended the first home game, proving St. Louis still had a passion for football. By 2023, support had grown even stronger, with over 38,000 fans packing the Dome, setting an XFL attendance record. The Battlehawks gave the Dome new life, but questions remained. Could St. Louis ever land another NFL team? Or would the Dome's role remain limited to smaller leagues, conventions, and concerts? Conclusion. The Dome at America's Center is more than just a building. It's a symbol of St. Louis's complicated relationship with the NFL. Built with the promise of long-term football stability, it became a bargaining chip in one of the league's most controversial relocations. Today, it stands as both a reminder of the past and a question mark for the future. Whether through renovations, repurposing, or perhaps even a new wave of professional football, the story of the Dome isn't finished. Its next chapter depends on how the city, county, and region choose to respond to its challenges, and whether they see the Dome as a burden or an opportunity.